just a moment. Can you hear me now? It looks like the microphone's working now, which is good. All right. So again, welcome everybody to this session. My name is Adrian. I'm streaming to you live from beautiful Victoria here on the west coast of Canada. Welcome, Jaineel. Hi, June. Hi, Rajveer. Good to have you all. This class is presented to you by aehelp.com and gieltshelp.com. Thank you for letting me know, Rajveer, that the audio is now working. That's good. It was some kind of an issue with the microphone. Anyway, this is our academic IELTS website here with the blue background. You can click that big red button to join the premium package there. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access. We are British Council IELTS Registration Center and certified agents. Hi, Carolina. Good to have our moderator in the class as well. Our general IELTS website looks like this with the green background. You can click that big red button there to join the premium package. Again, it's just a one-time payment for lifetime access. You can also download and check out our apps, Academic IELTS Help, General IELTS Help. Those link to their respective websites. And you can follow us on Instagram, IELTS_AEHelp and GIELTS Help. If you have questions, members, if you have questions that I can't answer in the class or don't have time to, you can always send me an email, adrian@aehelp.com, and I will gladly answer you via email. Okay, everyone. So our new schedule from today until June 12th is ready. Again, we will have speaking part 2 class after this one today in about 90 minutes. And then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, no class as usual. Back on Wednesday. And then Wednesday, we will have classes all the way until next week, Saturday. So this is first come, first serve, which means I will take the questions in the order that I see them. And of course, if I see relevance between or among the questions, then I will address them accordingly. So members, get your questions ready. Any question about the IELTS exam, or about the English language, or perhaps about application to universities, maybe for immigration. I might be able to help you out with that as well. As I mentioned, we are British Council agents. I am myself as well, a certified agent. So, okay, let's take some questions. All right, so Jaineel is asking a very popular question within the pronunciation of the English language. So Jaineel is asking pronunciation of the, sometimes the or the, when I use the former or the latter one. All right, Jaineel, it's kind of up to your diction, the way that you use that. So there is no rule of when you would say the people or the people. I haven't myself recognized any rule or read or heard about any rule for that. I think it's just up to diction and perhaps where you are in the world. So again, remember everyone that even among native speakers of the English language, there are a lot of differences in pronunciation. So if you travel to some parts of the world, you might hear people saying the a little bit more, and in some other parts you might hear them say the a little bit more. So no real rule there. I'm trying to think, Jaineel, if there are sequences of words where the E would sound better than the sound with the following noun, but nothing's really coming to mind for me, to be perfectly honest with you. So pronouncing the as the or the really depends on your diction and where you are in the world. Okay, so just for those of you that are not familiar with the word diction, diction means kind of your style of speech. I guess one part where, or one instance where we would have the, okay. I really have to think about this one, Janelle, so it's a good question. I think, Janelle, when you use the in some cases, if I'm kind of thinking of past situations myself, it's when we forcefully emphasize some kind of point, okay? So the can be heard when the speaker is forcefully emphasizing some point. I'll give you an example, like but again, it's no solid rule here, Janelle, so there's no like concrete rule that this is what has to happen. The entire world is having difficulties because of COVID regulations. So if I want to really emphasize this fact that everybody is facing some challenging times because of regulations imposed to manage COVID, then I might say like the entire world is having difficulties, because this pronunciation of the is a little bit less common. It's a little bit more awkward. So when you hear it as a native speaker, you kind of go, oh, it's like super important, unique. Does that make sense? So that's kind of what I can think of right now as one case. So the listener is thinking, oh, so it is a very important, unique point. Okay, does that make sense? All right. So the entire world is in a difficult situation because of COVID regulations, okay? So that, I've heard it in those kinds of contexts, all right? It's an interesting question, yeah. All right, and definitely practice the TH sound, by the way, everyone. So it's good to get that sound down, and you can master it. A lot of people are like, oh, I'll never get that the sound. We do have a blog on pronunciation that explains the TH sound on the website, so check that out. It's worth practicing that TH sound, okay? The sound, okay? All right. Rajveer, thank you for the reminder. So Rajveer is asking, did I get a chance to create a blog on conditional grammar structures? No, not yet, Rajveer, but I do appreciate the reminder, and I'm going to make a note right now. It's been a bit crazy on my end. I've been managing another studio move recently, but yeah, I'm writing it down right now, Rajveer, so I will not forget it. I will keep to my word. Okay, and we will create that blog on conditionals. Thank you for the reminder. Okay, so the blog on conditional grammar structures will be up soon. Yeah, there are a couple of interesting points about conditional grammar structure. I actually have a very nice chart somewhere, Rajveer, that explains that quite clearly, so I'll put that into the blog, okay? All right. Okay. Angelo is asking, can native English speakers fail in IELTS? Yeah, so Angelo, I mean, there's no such a real concept as a fail. I guess, yeah, if they register for the exam and then they don't show up, then they would get a 0, okay? So Angelo's asking, can native English speakers fail on IELTS? So I think a better way to ask this, Angelo, is can native English speakers fail on IELTS to achieve the score that they need for their studies or immigration? The answer to that, Angelo, is yes. Okay. Yes, they can. Okay, it's not common, but they can. So the IELTS exam is an English proficiency exam. It's not an English as a second language exam. It's never been called an English as a second language exam. And I think that's where a lot of people are confused. They think that it's a ESL exam, but it's not. It's a proficiency exam. Proficiency exam means it's measuring your ability to communicate using the English language at a certain level. Now, band 6 is a fluent user of the English language. A band 7 is a good user of the English language. So to give you a good idea of this, everyone, band 7 is your typical English, native English speaking, everyday level. Okay, so band 8, okay, so band 7 is considered a good user of English. And ideally, most native speakers should be considered a good user of the English language. 6 is fluent, so 6 means that they can speak fluently, they can write fluently. Okay, a band 8 is a very good user. And a band 9 is what's called an expert user. Okay, so a band 8, just so you have clarity on this, is a person that would likely get a grade of 80% or more on first year university or college English exams. All right. Remember that in order for somebody to go to university, they have to have a minimum of band 6.5. Now, it's slowly increasing year by year, the requirements, but it's a minimum of band 6.5 overall with nothing under 6. That's just to have the English requirement for university. So here in Canada, and it's very similar in many other parts of the world, and I'm going to digress into this a little bit so everybody can appreciate and understand this a little bit more. So you're not, you know, some people I think feel that if they're not native speakers of English, they're being kind of discriminated against with their language use that's required for university. And that's really not true. So just to give you an idea, so to enter university in Canada, and it's kind of the same in Australia and the US as well. So enter university in Canada, a student must have a grade B. A grade B is about 80% or higher on their grade 12 English score. And they must have a grade 11 with B or higher for an internationally recognized second language. For example, French, Hindi, German, Korean, Japanese, Russian, and there's several other ones as well. Okay, so just so you realize that you're not being singled out as international students or international immigrants to an English-speaking country, for native English speakers in Canada, they have to also have a second international language. Okay, as some of you know, I speak Hungarian fluently, but Hungarian is not an internationally recognized language. So I actually speak Japanese as my third language. Ohayo gozaimasu. Dozo yoroshiku. So I could teach you a bit of Japanese, but we're not in that right now. So I took Japanese throughout high school. That was an option in my high school. And then I took it in college. I lived in Japan. I taught in Japan. And then I studied Japanese all the way to third year university level. So speaking multiple languages is expected not just from non-native English speakers, but also from native English speakers. That's why I'm looking forward to putting my children into French immersion schools from kindergarten so that they don't have that barrier when they want to go to university or travel. Okay, so I'm kind of digressing here, again, it's important to recognize that IELTS is not an ESL test. It's an English proficiency exam. If somebody does not have grade 12 English with a B, or they don't finish grade 12 English, they have to take the IELTS as one option to get into their university classes or to be enrolled in university. And yes, Angelo, some candidates that are native English speaking and, for example, have not learned essay writing could potentially fail that part of the test and then not be able to enter university. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. But yeah, just because somebody's a native speaker does not guarantee success on IELTS. People still need good reading skills and good writing skills, regardless of the fact that they're native speakers. Okay. Amanda, you can definitely ask a question about the writing task. Sure, of course. Okay. So Amanda, I just caught that question that was before Angelo's. Yeah, go ahead, ask a question about writing task, and when I see it, I'll respond to it. Okay. Rajveer is asking, do you have any info about when Canada is planning to resume FSW draws? Rajveer, what does FSW mean? I don't know that acronym. I don't have an idea of when Canada and so the Canadian immigration and other institutions will have their kind of regular system back in place. Unfortunately, nobody knows that. So everybody's giving the answer of we're hopeful that it's September. So yeah, this is a common question, Rajveer. I just asked this question from the kindergarten teachers at school. When will school resume to regular kind of flow and study? And I got this answer from the teachers and from the school administrators that we don't know. We're hopeful that it will resume in September. So Rajveer's asking, when will regular administration of immigration resume? It's really hard to say, okay? The best answer I can give you, Rajveer, because I think that's what you're referring to. I'm guessing FSW has something to do with visas, but I'm sure you'll tell me that in a moment. So the answer that I keep hearing from government workers here in Canada is, we don't know. But we are hopeful that the usual will return starting from September. Okay. So in June, so in BC, British Columbia, the province where I am, because it's not just national level for some of these, but it's also provincial level. So in BC, some of the regulations are being relaxed from June 16th. So in about 10 days' time, the government here has said that they're going to start opening up restaurants again. They're starting to open up some public facilities, swimming pools, for example. So we're going in the right direction thanks to the vaccinations. But there's no guarantees. Governments are still scared of different kinds of variants of COVID that might not be controlled by vaccines. So it's hard to say. Okay, but they're hopeful that it's September. Okay, hopefully that answers your question. All right, I'm just trying to see. Yeah, so federal skilled worker. Yeah, okay, I got it. Yeah, federal skilled worker immigration draws. Yeah, so Regvir, like I say, hopefully September, I think, is what everybody's thinking, but there's no guarantees at this point. All right. So June is asking a question. June is asking, in listening, I find I do the best in part 4 in filling in the word. However, multiple choice and info matching in part 3 are a bit challenging for me. It's sometimes tough to listen and read answers at the same time. Yeah, June, that's because you can't do it that way. Okay, so it's a good question, June. So June is asking, how do I solve multiple choice questions and matching info? Matching info in part 3 of listening. Okay, so you can't, June, you can't do it by trying to read the answers while you're listening and then identify, okay? So you have to read the questions and answers beforehand, and you have to focus on the information to hear the answer, then choose the correct response. Importantly, remember that logic will also greatly help you with these, okay? So you have to really read the part 3 questions before the audio starts. You have 2 chances to do that. One is when the instruction time is being given, June. So when you hear the instructions to the listening section at the very, very beginning before part 1, if you find the matching info and multiple choice in part 3 the most challenging for you, jump to those questions, okay? If you're doing the computer-based exam, at the bottom of the screen, you can click on part 3, look for those questions and really review them so that you get your mind ready, so that when you're there, you're just focusing on the audio. The reason why, June, it's really difficult to read and try to catch the answer is because they're also paraphrasing a lot in part 3. So you're not hearing the same information. So you have to focus on the audio and not the questions. I hope that's clear, okay? So use the intro time at the very beginning to review these questions. Okay, so without going into more practice, that's my tip, June. okay, is use that introduction time at the very beginning, review the questions, listen to the audio, answer them when you hear the answer, and use logic. So really look at the questions and the possible choices and answers from logic, okay, what makes sense in the context, okay? All right, and that's how you should practice it, June. Okay, Carolina, I think you're talking about the or the there. Okay. All right. Yeah, Elsa is a pretty good app for pronunciation practice, and it's always learning. It's an AI app for sure. Okay. All right. I know Jainil uses Elsa. That's good. Okay. Amanda's question, developments in technology help in preventing and solving crime, as this will result in a drop in the crime rate and make society safer. Fewer police officers will be needed in the future. Do you agree or disagree? Yeah, okay, Amanda. So I'm not sure where you got that question from. So just to ask you a question back, Amanda, was that the question on your exam? It's quite an awkward question. Okay. All right. In that case, again, you have to identify the topic, the controlling idea, just like we did in task 2 this week. Go through the steps and then figure out if you agree or if you disagree and why, right? In this case, I would say that I disagree. Okay. And the reasons I would give, so just going through that critical thinking extremely fast in my mind. So the reason I would disagree with this is police officers have more responsibilities than simply to solve crimes. Okay, because you have to remember that police officers aren't just solving crimes. They also do a lot of educational work. They do mitigation, counseling. So they do different tasks. So police officers have more responsibilities to solve than to solve crimes. And if I'm thinking critically about this, I had it in my head 2 seconds ago. Population is increasing. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. So I was visualizing this, and yeah, relatively speaking, we might have fewer police officers, but in absolute terms, there are more and more people in the world. So we're always going to need at least as many police officers as we have now because we have more and more people in the world. So those are just 2 points that come to mind without spending that 5 minutes on planning out this essay. Okay, so I would personally disagree that technology is going to completely replace police officers. Police officers, if you are here in Canada anyway, they do a lot more in the community than just solve crimes. Also, there's an increasing population globally, so I think we need as many police officers as we have now for sure in the future, if not more. So those are the points that I would argue about for that essay. Okay. All right. And Amanda, you definitely want to work to increase your score. 5.5 is a bit on the low end, certainly, but I'm sure that you can do better as long as you keep working hard. Okay. Okay, Angelo is asking, and this is connected, I think, to your last question, is, by the way, do you know the report card grade requirement to immigrate to a Canadian university, for example, grade 10 to 12? Yeah, I do. Okay, so what grades are needed for university admissions in Canada for grades 10 to 12. Okay, the answer to that, Angelo, is the absolute minimum is a grade B, which is 80% or more, and preferably higher in core subjects like math and science. Shouldn't be capital. Math and science, which is a B plus, okay, which is 85% or more. Now, that's the absolute minimum. So you should have a grade B or more in all of your classes, going from grade 10 to grade 12, okay? They do not like seeing C pluses or anything below that. Okay, and in your core subjects like math or science, you should have 85% or more. Now, of course, it's a competitive situation, so the higher the grade, the better your chances. Okay, ideally, your grades are 85%, which is a B plus or more, depending on the school with these. So that's why I'm giving you percents, okay, or more with a good number of A's and A pluses. Okay, so it depends on the school, but an A is usually 90%, and an A plus is 95% or greater. Okay. So, and of course, these are all 85 or greater, 95 or greater. Okay. So competition is increasing year by year, especially for top level universities. So you're kind of looking at these grades for being accepted. Okay. Keep that in mind. If you have C's, it depends on your schools too. So there's a lot of evaluation, but differences in evaluation, they know how it works. But this is kind of the general concept that you have to keep in mind, or the general criteria that you have to keep in mind. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So Nick Hill says, I got 6 in writing in my previous attempt, but I want 7. So how to improve my score and plan my studies for that score? Nick Hill, you have to get professional feedback on your writing, okay? So you can do that on our website. I really highly recommend. I know it's a bit expensive for students, but professional feedback on writing takes extra work, no matter who you hire to do it, especially if they know what they're doing. So in order to improve your writing band from 6 to 7 or more, you must get professional feedback on your writing in order to identify mistakes so that you can correct them and improve. Okay, that's really the one and most important tip I'm going to give you about that. So if you do 250 word essay and you submit it, I'll show you where you can do that. Okay, so again, these are our websites here, and then when you log into your My Student account, might be a little bit bright here, you have the editing services, task 1, task 2. So right there, you can just click on task 2. And then in task 2, you can pick a question. So there's a question, and then you put your answer into the text field, and then you submit it. And once you submitted it, you have to make payment. And then once you make payment, then we'll receive your essay and we'll mark it. We'll give you some comments on what you did wrong, what you need to improve with corrections, of course. So that's really the best way. That's the most efficient way to do it. Okay, peer review is good as well. If you do a 250 word essay on our website, it costs $15 US to get it marked. 150 words is $9 US. It's 6 cents per word, basically, is the simple way to put it. Okay. All right. Okay, June, this is in connection to your last question. So for multiple choice, do I read A, B, C answers in the review? No, that's not so important. It's more important to read the question and pay attention to the question and think about how you might hear that question, because your choices are paraphrased also. So even the correct choice is said differently in the audio in part 3. So reading the choices and focusing a lot on the choices is not necessarily very important, okay? It's much more important to focus on the question and understand the answer to the question rather than paying attention to the choices. So it's just like in reading, June, the choices are confusing, so you don't necessarily have to read the choices, okay? Kyber, I'm doing very well today. Thank you for asking. Ois, I'm sorry, I cannot remember off the top of my head what you responded to, or sorry, what you wrote for Body 1 and Body 2 yesterday. But Ois, you can email us your essay and we can give you a free score estimate. So we do give free score estimates for Task 2 writing. So again, members, viewers, if you are curious about your writing score, we are very accurate with our score estimations. Just send me your essay, Ois, you can send it here, and we will send you back a score estimate. We're not going to send you back editing or giving information on what to do to improve, because that would take too much time for our team. We can't do that. But we do have enough time to go over or skim over the essay and give you a score estimate. Okay, so Ois, just send us your essay and we'll send you back a score estimate. And please don't expect detailed editing because that's not realistic. Okay, so in order to get a free score estimate on your Task 1 and 2 writing, just send it to us by email with subject, please estimate my writing score. Okay, you can send it to admin@aehelp.com. Okay. So if you send it there, we'll usually within a day have that back for you. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's see what else we have. Carlos, welcome to our group of members. Glad you joined in. If you have a question, ask it. I might be able to get to it. Kyber says, if a person's band level is 5.5 in writing and they want to improve from 5.5 to 7, what should they do if they have 90 days leading up to the exam? Write a lot, get lots of feedback, okay? So really work on that and work on your written grammar, Kyber. So keep doing grammar exercises for sentences, okay? So that's what you should do without going into too much detail. But do lots of writing, and also, Kyber, do lots of reading. Okay, read essays. Okay, and don't read too many sample essays for the IELTS, because a lot of them are not actually as high band as they claim to be. I said that before. Be very careful. You come across a lot of sample essays that are a high band, even on official websites like British Council, and they're arguably, if you actually took that essay and you put it into the real exam, it wouldn't score as high. Marking on the writing section is the most strict. It's more difficult to get a perfect band on writing than on speaking. Okay. Mahi is asking, are CELPIP and IELTS having value for immigration purposes? I'm not sure exactly what you're asking there, Mahi. The general IELTS exam is used for immigration purposes mostly. I'm not too familiar with the CELPIP exam. It's more restricted. It's not accepted by as many organizations as IELTS. So you have to really check where they will accept it and what score. Okay. All right. Carlos is asking, is this writing practice aimed to help with the academic IELTS? Task 2, yeah. So Carlos, task 2 in the academic and in the general are virtually the same. Okay, they're very similar. So in both cases, you're writing a persuasive essay, and they're being marked relatively the same. Okay, it's task 1 that's a bit different, Carlos. Task 1 is narrative writing for general IELTS. You have to write a letter usually, or an email. To find out more about that, visit gieltshelp.com, okay? And check out the writing instructions and videos. The academic one is like a diagram or a chart, so it's an expository essay. It's a little bit different. But task 2 is basically the same. And task 2 is 66% of your total score. It's 2/3 of your total score in the writing section. So, and the task 2 is arguably the same between general and academic. It's a persuasive essay. It's 250 words. Okay. All right. June is asking, looks like there are only 6 practices in writing task 2 editing services. If we want to practice more topics like the latest ones in IELTS, can we send them? Yeah, you can, June. Yeah, absolutely. So students ask us that. Yeah, so if you have your own question, just send the question by email and then submit your writing in the same way as you would otherwise, and we will mark it just the same. Yeah, so absolutely. If you have a different task 2 or task 1 question that is not on our websites, you can simply send the question by email and submit the essay the same way. Sure, yeah, of course. And we will mark it. Yeah, no problem there. Definitely. Okay. Okay. Janil says, sir, I only read your essays. Thank you, Janil. I'm honored. You should read other essays as well. Okay. So there are a lot of great essays out there, and you should read them. You should focus on correct literature in English. So correct literary rules and essays, okay? So I'm trying to think of the title of this book. There's a really great book that's got a lot of different narrative and persuasive essays. So Google standard persuasive English essays. Google standard expository English essays. And if you're doing the general IELTS, then Google narrative essays. Okay, and also descriptive writing. So these are definitely some good terms to explore and research a little bit. They will be very useful, not just for your IELTS exam, but also for your future work, your future studies. So Google persuasive English essays, okay? Expository English essays. This is task 2, writing. This is task 1, academic. Okay, and this is task 1, general. Now, the reason why I said also Google descriptive writing is kind of like the father of all writing. You have to understand descriptive writing tools like literary devices, using analogies, metaphors, hyperboles, oxymorons, and so on. Okay, so that's all going to be in descriptive writing. And so this is a good place to start. Okay. Start with descriptive writing and then look at persuasive, because persuasive is task 2 for both general and academic, and then also look at expository and narrative. It's great that you're learning from the essays that I show you in class, Janelle, but I highly recommend looking at expert essays from various different authors in these genres or these main categories of essay writing. Okay? All right. Okay, everyone, with that note, I'm going to stop there. I think that's a good stop point to leave you thinking on for today. So thank you so much for all of your questions. If I didn't answer your question or you need further clarity, just simply send me an email and we will get to it on our end ASAP. Okay, so make sure to stick around. In about 40 minutes, I will be back with a class for Speaking Part 2 cue card, and we'll go through it together. We'll practice for a great response. So take a short break. Thank you for the great interactions today, members. That was really great. A lot of really great questions. Welcome to our new member. And I will be back shortly in about 35 minutes. For everybody watching, definitely visit us for lots of information about IELTS and English at aehelp.com for academic IELTS, gltshelp.com for general IELTS. Again, I will be back soon. Hang around. I'm Adrian, signing out from Victoria for now. Bye.